Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the, gosh, what is it, April 12th Board of Selectmen's meeting. It being 7 o'clock. Why don't we have the Jaycees lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Keeping you on your toes. Is anyone here for citizens input? No? All right, well, it's nice to see so many faces back in the audience on this nice night. We have a pretty packed agenda, but we'll try to stay on time and get through everyone and get you guys out of here. So we'll start with the Jaycees first. If you guys can come up and tell us about the new event you're doing. And we also have Cindy on behalf of the Foxboro Common Business Collaborative. So we have a new event that we asked them to come in and talk about since we've never done it. And then we're hoping to kind of promote some of the other great activities that the Jaycees have going on in the next, I don't know, what, 3 to 4 months or so. So if you guys, I think we all know who you are, but if you can just introduce yourselves and then tell us a little bit about your new event.
Chris Perry-Long, Ways and Means VP for the Jaycees.
Mark Rivard, Director of Jaycees.
Amy Labrash, I am the Vice President of Membership and also the Project Chair for the car show.
Cindy Haddad-Drew, Cindy's Diamond and Jewelry Gallery, and Chairman of the Foxboro Common Business Collaborative.
Just bring your mics a little closer. Okay. Sorry.
Check, check, check.
Okay. All right, great. All right, so we're excited to see this new event on here. Can you just tell us a little bit about it, Amy?
Sure. We, the Jaycees, are looking to hold a car show on July 10th with a rain date of the 17th. Just uptown here. We had requested the use of the town hall parking lot behind the Central Street businesses. Mm-hmm. I've also spoke to Foxborough Federal. We'll be using their parking lot, and Rally Point as well. Basically, it's going to be a family-friendly event. It's going to be promoted as such. It's to work collaboratively with the businesses so that they can participate in the event as well. We're going to do pre-registration, kind of similar to our vendor fair where we kind of know who's coming. You know, it'll be cheaper for them to pre-register. If they register the day of, it's only if we have room. Check-in will be at Rally Point and public parking. We did get permission from Invencis if this is okayed to use the parking lot, and also overflow if we need. We can use their other parking lots as well. So basically, they'll check in at Rally Point. They'll get a map which designated parking lot they're going to have. All cars will be parked by 12 o'clock. Judging will happen between 12 and 2. We're going to have judges, but then we're also going to have a People's Choice Award, so people who are attending the event can also choose their car that they you know, think is the best. And we're inviting the businesses uptown to participate in any way that they would like. We're not doing any food or anything, so we're hoping that the businesses up on the common in that area will benefit from that. We're also having a 50-50 raffle. 50% will go to the winner and 50% will go to the fire truck fundraiser that they're having. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'd say the only thing I'd add is it's here because we're going to close down. Are we still going to close down Wall Street right here?
Yes.
So it's in front of us because it's going to use a public way and obviously the parking lots.
No, it's not.
It's central from Wall to.
Oh, we are going back
south.
to Central. Oh, I thought we had moved over. Okay, that's fine. Good with me. So it will close part of the road and it will be from Wall to the Common then,
yes,
with the traffic diverting around.
But yeah, traffic can go on either side of that.
Yep. And then there was also a concern raised by Town Hall, you know, how about the businesses? How do they feel? That's kind of where Cindy comes in. It came to Foxboro Common Business Collaborative, and maybe if you can.
Very supportive of the event and the opportunity to see something like this coming to Uptown.
Yeah, there's been a lot of excitement about this event, so it's a new one and hopefully one that'll be annually here to stay.
Yeah, we don't want to say annually yet.
Okay, sorry, no promises.
But it's very new.
The inaugural, not annual.
Yes, inaugural.
Yes.
That's fine.
Okay.
You know, we will be looking, you know, for sponsorships and things like that. And there's information, and we'll also be going to all the businesses, probably from Roberts here, all the way down Bird, just so that they know what's going on. So if they want to participate, once we get the approval, we're going to go to each business face-to-face and have a conversation.
Great.
The participants sign up, or you just whoever shows up?
We're hoping that people will pre-register.
Okay.
That's our hope. It'll be cheaper to pre-register. They'll be able to pay ahead of time. We will only allow enough cars that we have spaces for, and we've allotted a space and a half per car. So we've actually thought not just using each space, but like a space and a half per car.
So what does that come out to?
About 120.
Now, we know that Patriots Place does a car show, I think, every other Thursday during the summer. Do a lot of the people that will go up there sort of come down here? Is it sort of like an organization where they, bunch of bees, they go wherever the
Yeah, so our hope is we would actually advertise going up there, passing out flyers. So our hope is that I have been in contact with the Mass Cruisers, the ones that actually run that. So, you know, hopefully they'll participate for sure.
All right, great. Any other questions? No? All right, so I think do we have to take a vote on that one, or are you just approving it, Bill? You can just approve it. He can just approve it, so we don't need to take a formal vote on that.
Okay.
Just we'd like you guys to
More
come in, since we've
information,
never had it before, but Bill can actually approve the form and everything. So I think we're all good, so you guys can move forward with that. And then do you just want to talk about some of the other events that you have coming up? I figured
Sure.
while you guys were here, you might as well mention and get the word out about some others.
Mark is going to speak to Concerts on the Common.
Sure, so I'm one of the co-chairs of that. So we have the concerts booked. The beginning date would be June 9th. The first show is the Foxborough High Jazz Band, as tradition. And then we're going to be going all the way up into the 25th. The last 2 weeks are going to be rain dates, just in case. We have, might as well give you the list. We have the Gobshites playing on the 16th. Space Captain's coming back on the 23rd.
Space Captain rules.
We have a new act on June 30th, Aaron Harp's CBD, Country Blues Band, duo, I mean. They're really good.
Okay.
Really good. Southbound Train's coming back for some country music on July 14th. The 21st is the Inflatables. Interesting name. On the 28th, Richie Rich and 24 Karat Funk, formerly known as Ultimate Soul.
Okay.
So you know them. On August 4th, we have the Jennifer Teff Band. Her full band will be playing. And then on the 11th, the Day Trippers. They're Beatles and oldies. So we have a very diverse lineup
Wow,
this year.
great mix.
Yeah.
Exciting.
So hopefully no rain.
Yeah, hopefully no rain on Thursdays.
Right.
Yeah, that's last year's list. Yeah, yeah.
And then there's the vendor fair that's coming up too,
Yep,
right?
so the vendor fair is going to be May 14th from 9 to 3 on the Common. Same thing that we've done in past years, same setup. You know, hopefully it'll be a little bit flatter. than
Yeah,
this
nothing's
time.
dug up, so it can't get worse than last year, right?
More grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then we also wanted to mention that Candidates Night is going to be April 20th.
Okay.
And that's going to be televised on Foxborough Cable Access.
And you can usually replay it. It's usually found on a variety of platforms.
So, as an offshoot of that, are you going to be able to get some of the school committee candidates Zoom? I know the
I'm
last,
not on that committee.
oh,
I
okay.
know that they're working to try and get everybody there.
Yeah, they're sending out an invite to see who's available.
Well, we already got that, because
Yeah.
I'm running again too. So we already got that, but there were a couple of school committee members that were at school vacation week. So I guess they had to change, you guys had to change the format a little bit, and maybe do a Zoom.
Yeah,
So I think getting all 4 candidates
will be really
will
important.
be really important.
And I actually reached out to Dennis Keefe today, who has the other seat, and did confirm that he is attending. So if people do want to hear from him, he will be on that night. You know, obviously everyone knows Doc, but Dennis is new and has a lot of experience to add, so.
Great. Awesome, that's all. That's all we
Yeah,
got.
they're all approved. Just figured we'd get the word out while we have you guys here. There's a
All right,
lot
awesome.
coming up.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, great.
All right, thank you
Thanks
very
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
All right, so next we have a public hearing. So we just need to open that public hearing with the reading of the notice, and I see Jess is there. Hey, Jess, can you hear us? Can we hear you?
No,
We can't hear you.
You can or you can't?
Now we
Now
can,
we
now we
can.
can. All good.
Okay.
Okay. So we just have to read the public hearing notice. George, do you want to come up to the front?
I was gonna come up.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Come on, come on down.
No, I don't need an escort.
All right, we've got, Seth has the public hearing notice here.
Town of Foxborough Public Hearing. The Board of Selectmen, acting as the local licensing authority pursuant to MGL Chapter 140, Section 181 and Section 183A, and Chapter 136, Section 4, Chapter 141 of the Acts of 2020, Code of the Town of Foxborough, Chapter 229, and also Stadium Rules and Regulations, will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, April 12th, 2022, beginning at 7:10 p.m. in the Gala Meeting Room, Town Hall, 40 South Street. Meeting being held virtually, instructions to be provided when Board of Selectmen meeting agenda is posted. To review the renewal application submitted by Kraft Sports and Entertainment LLC for the 2020 annual entertainment license. All listed events in the application are proposed for Gillette Stadium. Application for this event is on file at the town manager's office. All interested parties are welcome to attend.
All right, so before we get started, just, this is going back to the annual license and where there was COVID last year and not a lot happening. We haven't really done this since the first year, so I just wanted to remind everyone that, we're back here for the annual license. We obviously have the data sheets right now for the things that we know are gonna happen, but after we have this public hearing, events can just be added simply with the data sheet thereafter. So we are approving the license tonight with what we have here, but just know that it's, there certainly will be more things added. Obviously, we don't have the NFL schedule yet. Does that summarize it pretty well where we're at to start?
Dead on. Dead on.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So if you guys can, just give us your thoughts where we're at on this. We all have the application and everything within, but let us know what your departments and boards have talked about.
You want me to jump in first and just kind of walk
Yep.
through
Do you guys want? Go ahead.
the
Yep.
application?
Yep.
So Jaycees, Kraft Sports and Entertainment. We met collectively with the Stadium Advisory Committee 2 weeks ago, and along with public safety and town agencies to go over this upcoming year. And it's going to be sort of the first full year. The universal event license was approved last year, and obviously we didn't have any full stadium events outside of the Patriots Some Revs matches and then Monster Jam. So we're excited to be before the board with a full slate of events, full seasons, concerts, some of which are new announcements and others are carryovers from 2020 and that have just been pushed and pushed. So I'll quickly run through the list and with the dates and the anticipated attendance, not to take up too much time. And the only, there's a couple of things to note, just generalized notes for this season. We're in the middle of a massive construction project in the building, and everybody at this point has been made aware of it. And it's an ongoing collaboration, obviously, with respect to every town agency that's involved, whether it be public safety, because of the job site that has now become the building every single day. Obviously, building inspectors probably spending more time up at the building than he cares to. So that's the biggest change right now for us. It's huge. It's the biggest improvement. It's the biggest renovation to the property since it opened. And in 3 weeks, I think we come up on our 20-year anniversary. So that's a big change. Just diving into the list, first event, which actually falls under last year's license, but the first real major event that we will have will be on Saturday, April 23rd, which is the Monster Energy Supercross. We hosted that event in 2016 and 2018 as well. That is a carryover from 2022. So technically this is the 2022 Monster Energy Supercross. We typically see about 30,000 people for this event. It's just no 300 level. Lower Bowl, 200 and club. Then we've got on Saturday, May 21st, Garth Brooks. And that's really exciting because that's been an event that we've really tried to land at the stadium. It went on sale back in July. We ended up for an October date, which ended up having to be postponed because of COVID. So we're really looking forward to May 21st. And that's unique because it's an in-the-round setup. So we'll have our first in-the-round concert in over 10 years with an anticipated attendance of 70,000. We have Monster Jam, which we've had annually now since 2014. It really was our first event back from the pandemic from our perspective outside of outside of football and soccer, and we'll anticipate about 30,000 for that. Just announced Dead & Co., which is their final tour which will be July 2nd, July 4th weekend. Smaller crowd for that, about 30,000. We did host them back in 2019. We've got 2 premier lacrosse events this year. We're hosting the All-Star Game on July 16th. And then you'll see they're a little farther down. We're hosting them in the fall. Those are both smaller events between 5,000 and 8,000 people anticipated total. But it is good to have lacrosse in the building because it helps continue to establish the market and the building as a lacrosse friendly site, and it helps us with future bids when it comes to the NCAA. Then we have the weekend after hours tour, which is Thursday, July 21st. That will probably be about 35,000 people. Interestingly enough, that's a 2020 reschedule that actually is coming from the Garden. So that was a Garden date for 2020. That was multiple dates that then just got combined into one stadium date for us in 2022. So that worked out well. We have 2 Elton John dates, and those are also as the title would suggest, it is the final tour for him. So the original one went on sale last June, and we just put the second one on sale 2 weeks ago, completely sold out. So July 27th and 28th, anticipate 50,000 people for each of those. 2 Kenny Chesney dates. So those are the annual ones that we typically see the end of August, the 27th and 28th. Those are his carryovers from 2020, and feels like a real nice sort of return to normalcy for all of us. It'll be great to have him back in the building. We have Rammstein, which is a German band. It's their first North American tour. And again, another carryover from 2020 on September 9th with an estimated attendance of 30,000. Our Rev season is in full swing, and their schedule is attached here. We're obviously coming off of a heartbreaking loss in the playoffs last year, but being the top of the Supporter Shield, this is essentially the top of the MLS. To end the season that way was a really tremendous accomplishment for the franchise, and we look forward to what the rest of this season brings. And when the NFL schedule is released, we'll formally submit the schedule for the New England Patriots. Full stadium events, no COVID protocols or procedures in place. We'll continue to operate the 140 egress as a pilot program or continuation of the pilot program. We operated it last season with with great feedback from the residents that used it. So we look forward to putting that back in play and seeing an uptick in use. And I think I've already gone over time. So that covers the summer as of right now. And as you mentioned, we will have the ability, hopefully we'll have at least 1 or 2 more events to add, and those will go directly to you, the board, and you'll have the ability to call a meeting if needed, and if not, they'll just be added to your agenda as action items.
Can you remind me, I feel like I remember asking this last time and it hasn't hit me, what does LE versus SE mean on the data sheet?
Live entertainment versus sporting.
Sports entertainment, okay. And then
Garth? Sporting event, live entertainment.
Okay. And then Garth is listed at 70,000?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Wow. How many seats do we have? Or do you have? I guess we
There's also the...
Yeah, so there's about 68,000 fixed seats in the building, and then the capacity on the field for a concert is around 10,000, anywhere between 10 and 12, depending what it looks like. Wow. Yeah. So right now, that date isn't entirely sold out. I think it's like right around 64,000. But yeah, it's got the potential to be up to 70 with like a final. We typically see a push in the week or 2 before a show. People that have waited the last minute to snap up tickets. So it'll probably get pretty close to that 70,000.
Yeah, I guess my estimating of numbers on the field is very inaccurate. Any questions?
Do you feel like you're being a little optimistic? Is there 30,000 Rammstein fans out there?
You know what? There's more than you think.
Yeah.
There's more than you think. Yes.
Oh, they come out.
I don't think we have any questions then. Maybe we'll hear from Chief and George, or whatever order you guys want to go in.
Sure. Well, first off, it's great to be back in business for the Stadium Advisory Committee. We had a great review, and I thank the public safety teams, all of which attended, and there was good dialogue as we brought forward in the summary. I want to say it was a great plan to have the way you put together the annual licensing and the parameters of it. So I think that made it very thorough and very easy, you know, for us. So from our perspective, you know, the construction, and I want to say both from the stadium standpoint as well as the discussion was potentially with that north end zone without a barrier, we could be a little bit busier with the noise, but you know, we anticipate we'll see what happens. You know, and I think it's a busy schedule. We will have coverage for all concert events there. I've already put out the flyer to our people.
Yeah, because yours thing has coverage optional on only some events, so that was, I wasn't sure what that meant. I don't remember seeing that before.
You know, if they're a smaller event, and you know, it's not a necessarily, you know, we do have coverage for it. We had people sign up for it, so just to make sure we got the big concerts covered. But yes, and I guess my only other thing is public safety is going to be working really hard this summer. You know, and my hats off to them based on, you know, when you add in Revolution and these concerts and then the Patriots coming up, you know, it's full court press for you, Chief.
That's an understatement.
But we recommended that you go forward with approval.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to your committee as well.
And I just want to just inject a little that prior to the meeting that we had, there's a lot of work done behind the scenes with the Kraft group, their security team. So we're planning for these events months and months in advance. We get intel from previous events, previous years, and while they're actually on tour. So this isn't like we just look at it and then they show up. So this is ongoing, and this is exciting. Some of the events are just so family friendly. We're so happy. I mean, Elton John for 2 shows, we'll take that. I mean, Taylor Swift may outdo him, but and we also make sure that when we look at what's happening around town with Founders Day, we don't have any conflicts right now, so which is very nice. And it's we're ready for the big events. Our relationship with Lieutenant Curtin up at the State Police and Major Kiley, who is the H Troop new commander, the Major. We're all in the circle. We're all communicating. So whatever assets we need, they can help us, and whatever we can give them. So we're ready for a big year, and we'll see how it goes. But we anticipate the best. I think it should be a fun year.
Everyone's excited to see all these live events back, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are hoping for normality again. You know,
Yeah.
a little bit.
It was, Jess, it was, we got, I don't know if everybody got their Partners and Patriots flyer today. It was awesome to see all those events that were listed in the flyer, jam-packed with things that are going to be coming up, you know, this summer, spring, summer, and fall.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's really exciting. It feels, it's a much needed boost. So we're excited to have such a busy summer ahead of us.
Yeah, and it was nice that the Stadium Advisory Committee had a vacation, but now it's time to get back to work.
Trying to earn my keep. You know.
There you go.
All right, great. Anyone here from the audience or the public? Any comment? Nope. All right, so with that, I think we can close the public hearing. So just a motion to do so.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And a motion for the license.
Motion to approve the 2020 annual entertainment license for Kraft Sports and Entertainment Group, Gillette Stadium, subject to the terms and conditions of the license contained therein.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks, Jess. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Jake.
All right. So up next, we have a common vic license and entertainment license for Colo Group LLC. Oh, sorry, I skipped one.
Yeah.
We have one, same thing, common vic and entertainment for Curry Leaf. You guys with Curry Leaf? Yes. Okay, do you want to just come up to the table? And we have your application here. Okay. So if you haven't done this before, just sit down, tell us your name, tell us where you guys are, what you're going to be doing, and then.
Skip Founders Day?
Oh, did we skip? Oh, I'm way off. All right, we're gonna take you guys first, and then we'll go right to you. Sorry.
Okay.
My name's Elizabeth Gregory. I'll be the general manager.
And my name is Inderjit Saini, and I'm the owner.
Okay. Okay, great. And just tell us a little bit about, where you are, when you're going to be opening, what you're looking to do.
It's 29 Washington Street in the same plaza as the Route 1 liquor store.
Okay, yep.
It'll be an Indian and Pakistani restaurant, and then during events at the stadium, we're also going to have like a separate menu for like subs, sandwiches, like that are easier for people to like walk with them, because that parking lot becomes like full of people for the stadium. So
a lot of traffic.
A lot of traffic.
You heard all the events that are coming.
Yeah.
So, any questions from the board?
Did you bring a menu?
I didn't, I brought them yesterday for the health board, and then when we were driving here, I was thinking, I should have brought some.
Oh, we're the ones approving it.
I know.
When you guys do open, we would love to have a ribbon cutting if you want to have it. We offer that to all the new businesses in town. If you do anything like that, we'd be happy to support you.
The shipment, the booth. So everything is like mostly set up. It's just like we are waiting on like some of the shipment, which is like, they said like it will be here in like 2 weeks. Our projected date was like in between 25th to the 1st. So as soon as we get the shipment, then we just like decide one day.
You're ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we all know how things go right now with supply chain and everything. So you guys are doing pretty well getting it turned around. I know others have had some trouble as well. So.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be excited.
Yes.
Always exciting to see a new business in town.
Motion to approve a common victualler and entertainment license for Curry Leaf LLC, DBA Curry Leaf.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank
Good
you.
luck. Thank
you so
Welcome to
much.
Foxborough.
Thank you.
All right, sorry about that. Is
Pleasure.
Monica coming back, or
Yeah, she just wanted to catch the chiefs here, but
do you, okay,
I'll take the heat.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, Scott O'Donnell, the chairman of Foxborough Founders Day, and we're gonna do it again this year.
Now, everyone's really excited to see this back.
Yeah, it's been great. We're going full steam ahead with the fundraising and our planning of the field and everything, getting the bands going, and we've already had some great response from local businesses supporting us.
All right, great. And always the second Saturday, right?
Second Saturday in
June
June. Yeah.
11th.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
All right, and you guys are here for the public way, so that's for the parade.
Correct.
Okay, same 10 o'clock like usual?
So I was just talking to Chief Grace about that. So we're looking to do road closures to start at 9:30, just on the perimeter working their way in. And then the parade will kick off at 10 with the fire department starting, police behind them. And then the participants of the parade, they'll do the route, which is down Central Street, around the Common, down Mechanic, Railroad, back around Bird, and then back around the Common, ending at South Street. So I talked to Chris Gallagher 2 years ago when we were looking to do this, and he said that there wouldn't be a problem with the floats getting around some of the barriers that are there on the Common now. So I'm going to reach out to him again. I don't think things have changed. I know that they've done some additions down Central Street, so we will look at that. Is a new one, so I'll ask Chris to take a look and make sure that if the fire trucks can get around it, I think we're okay.
18-wheelers, I would think.
Big trucks, yeah.
Especially coming straight off a Bird up, I hope.
Yeah.
And then even at Central Street, you guys are kind of turning off before you
Correct.
go back down that, and that one's flat, so.
So that's, I'm thinking things haven't changed in that, and I haven't heard from him saying anything else.
Yeah.
Our floats typically don't approach the size of a tractor trailer really anyway.
Yeah.
If a fire truck can make it, probably our floats
Yeah.
can,
Correct.
you know.
And we've reached out to surrounding towns. The fire department normally does a good job of reaching out as well. We've got interest, lots of interest from the town organizations, from businesses who, how can we help, flatbeds, whatnot. We've talked about it as a group, and we're ready. We're ready for this event. I think the town's ready for this event, and looking forward to a great day.
Yeah, this response has already been awesome, and I have being the chairman, and my job basically was to cancel it the last 2 years. I'm kind of
Yeah, that's a tough,
excited to get
tough
back
job,
at it. So yeah.
And will you guys be doing the drive again? I
Yes.
forget what date it usually
The
is.
Rocket Drive this year is going to be Saturday, May 28th, which
Okay.
is
It's always a
Memorial Day
Saturday,
weekend.
Memorial.
Okay, okay.
Correct.
And also at the town election, you'll see our table again.
Okay.
We weren't allowed to do that the last 2 years either, so we're excited to do that again. And those are two of our bigger fundraisers.
Absolutely.
Great. I love picking up some Foxborough swag at those, so.
Oh, yeah, you'll have some.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
All right, any questions?
Praying for good weather.
That's, yeah,
Oh,
great.
yeah.
Any questions or concerns you might have between now and the event, feel free to give any one of us a call. You can field it through me, you can catch me on Facebook. You know, I'm a local business, so I'm in the book.
Yep, and if we can help you guys with anything, certainly don't hesitate to
Thank
reach
you very
out.
much.
Vice versa as well.
Madam Chair, there was Paige and I had met with one of the banks today, local banks, who wants to try and assist in the effort too. Maybe
Okay.
through some fundraising effort or some way they can contribute.
That would
So,
be,
so I'll talk to you, I'll reach out to you this week. We can
All
talk
right.
about that, okay?
Right. Well, we're meeting tomorrow anyway, so.
Great, excellent.
yes. We're always looking for ways to make the parade bigger,
Yep.
so.
we're
And
meeting with
everything on the
police and fire
fields, everything, the
tomorrow, so.
fireworks, everything else is business as usual, it sounds like, so.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, they've been great.
Great. All right, well, we're all excited.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to meet
Yeah,
with
so we
us.
do just have, we have a motion just to officially
sorry.
approve the,
Motion to approve a use of public way for Foxborough Founder's Day on June 11th.
Second.
any further discussion? All those in favor?
Thanks,
All right,
guys.
thank you so much.
Best of luck,
Good
good to
night.
see you. All right, thanks, Scott.
All
Thanks, Mark.
right, so I scrolled down and I have myself all messed up in order, but I think if I'm back, we're at approval of common vic and entertainment for Colo Group, if I'm saying that correctly. And do we have someone on the line representing this one? Oh, hello.
Yes. Hi.
Can you guys hear us?
Yes, yes. Hi.
All right, great, we can hear you. I don't know if you heard Curry Leaf go just before you. Did you hear them? The
Yes,
kind
we
of same
did.
thing. Tell us what you're looking to do, where you are, tell us a little bit about your business, and then we'll let you know if we have any questions.
Sure. You want me to go or you?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Hi guys. My name is Phi Pham. This is my fiance, Yini Bat. We are owners of Banh Mi Oi. We first opened in West Roxbury, and actually one of our regular customers is a police officer which works right down the street, and he often goes to our shop. And so he his spot is Salad Mouse, which is his parents' pizza shop on 8 Wall Street. They decided they wanted to retire, and so he's like, okay, I like your food, would you guys want to come to Foxborough? And so this is kind of like a great opportunity for us. And, Nick, which is the owner, was, so gracious to, invite us. So we decided, why not? And we just, started everything. And we're kind of on the way to kind of just merge in with the community.
That's a great story how you ended up here.
Yeah.
Any questions?
How's the construction coming along? When do you have a date that you hope to open?
Yes, I want to say, I think you guys all know right now there's a shortage of like almost everything.
Yeah.
We've been working really hard for mid-May to late May. So if everything goes well, there's no wood here to knock, but if you guys have any over there, help us. I'm thinking mid-May to late May. That's the goal.
Don't flatter yourself.
Well, you just heard too, June 11th is Founder's Day, and you guys are on that parade route, and everyone from Foxborough and every community is right there at that parade on June 11th. So hopefully you guys can be open by then and get a lot of exposure and visibility. And, we'd love to have a ribbon cutting for you guys too. We did it for I'm pointing over here because we're looking out the window at where you will be. That's how close you are. For the shake place, and the bakery's opening around the corner. So we're really excited to see what happens with that corner. And there is a Foxborough Common Business Collaborative as well that would love for you guys to join and meet some of the other business owners and hear about the projects and things we have going on uptown.
Madam Chair, just while you're on right now live television, if you could maybe tell everybody about your menu, what you're going to be offering for food, what type of food you're going to be offering.
Awesome, thank you for asking. And so the name itself is really interesting because it tells the story of like how food is kind of offered in Vietnam. So if you're on the streets in Vietnam, you're like, hey, I would like, I don't know, say if you're at like Fenway, you're like, hey, I want a hot dog or something. In Vietnam, in retrospect, if you want a sandwich or a sub, you say bánh mì ơi. So bánh mì is the bread, and then ơi is almost that hey. And so that's how you call that vendor. And so with that said, we are selling different types of very authentic Vietnamese bánh mì, as well as pho, which is a beef noodle soup, different variety of like local farmed veggie bowls, as well as rice bowls. But yeah, definitely our key thing is gonna be bánh mì, which is the sandwich.
Great.
And is the restaurant in West Roxbury same name if people check that out? Yeah?
Oh yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I know at least one staff member here was very excited about you coming.
I think I know the same one. Yeah.
Paige has said to me, she goes, I love Vietnamese food. So she goes, I'm very, very excited about you guys being here. So I'm looking forward to trying it as well. So welcome.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
We're really excited to add you guys to the businesses uptown. It's a special area, so I think hopefully you'll enjoy being in the community.
Oh, we've walked through already, and you know it's so beautiful and it's so calming. Boston is definitely very bustling, and you have a lot of cars, a lot of like just honking here and there. So it's different, you know, it's very different. So we're very excited to see where this new chapter takes us, and we're so glad to be, you know, a chapter in yours.
Great.
Great.
All right, so with that, I think we'll have a motion.
So please forgive my pronunciation here, but motion to approve a common victualler license for Colo Group LLC doing business as Bánh mì oi.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, you're all set. Welcome to Foxborough. Keep us updated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking
All right,
forward
thank
to
you.
it.
Thank you.
All right, so we are going to, Farmer's Market. Is anyone coming in for that?
Renee is online.
Oh, Renee is here.
Just give her a second to come.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you and see you. Can you hear us?
Yep.
All right, great. You know the drill.
Yep. Thank you for having me. We're really excited to be able to offer the farmers market again this year. Our dates are June 2nd through September 8th. So we're doing it again on Thursdays in conjunction with the concerts on the Common. We've got some events that are going to happen as well during the farmers market. We started that last year. We'll have art in the park again. We'll have yoga in the park. We will do, Jack Othlet is going to come and do a book signing and speak. He will be there the week that we have the Foxborough High School Jazz Band. We thought that would be a great collaboration. So again, it's June 2nd to September 8th, 4 to 7, every Thursday on the Common. We've got some new vendors. We're hoping to get 15 to 20. Last year we had 12. I've had a lot of reach out about craft vendors, which I'm going to try and limit them. But we do have a new produce vendor, which is the Fairmont Fruit Farm in Franklin. And they actually offer a goat yoga, which I think is pretty cool. So I'm going to look into having goat yoga offered. Not sure how you do yoga with goats, but I'm going to look into it. Yeah. I don't know how relaxing that would be, but people say it's great.
Goats running throughout the Common in traffic. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I'm thinking we can offer it at a different location.
Any questions?
Yeah, so I'm super excited.
No, I think we're all just another event that we're super excited is back and returning. So thank you for all your work. I know it's tough getting all those
My pleasure.
vendors together, and
it's just tough keeping the rain away. It rained
Right.
7 of the 15 weeks last year.
well,
You can
hopefully
have
it
that
stays
again.
away on the Thursday nights.
Yeah. It can rain on Wednesdays.
And I don't think we need a vote for this one. I think Bill can just can approve this, but we just wanted you to come in and just talk about it and get it promoted with the rest of the stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you,
All right.
Renee.
Great to see you, Renee. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, now we're going to intentionally shift the next two items. So Paige is going to talk about the MBTA Communities Housing Choice discussion. The town clerk's office is actually open until 8 p.m. tonight since it's the last night to register to vote before the election. So we're just going to move to that agenda item after Paige.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So I'm here tonight due to an obligation. As you might have heard, you might have heard that I've quit housing. And that's a joke. I really haven't. But, we've had a lot of housing discussions. And but this I'm bringing forward is actually required by the state. So I have a screen to share, and I'll go ahead and turn that on and get my presentation going. Okay. Do you guys see it?
Yes. We see it,
yes. Yep. Great. All right, so it is actually required that I hold this meeting with you by May 2nd, and I'll get into the details on this momentarily. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the background of this MBTA communities requirement and why we're even in that discussion. I'm going to summarize the draft guidelines, talk about how it impacts Foxborough. We have to discuss whether we're going to want some technical assistance. I'll let you know the resources. I'll let you know the milestones, and then we can delve into some of the concerns that might come up. So by way of background, this housing choice law was passed through an economic development bond bill. I won't read all of this word for word, but it was passed back in December 2020 and signed into bill January 21. The bill, which is actually a law, like it kind of caught everybody off guard. The governor has been pushing for housing choice for years, but never really got any traction with the legislature to really move anything along. It's very difficult to change zoning and housing rules in the state. But through this bond bill, he was able to get some provisions regarding housing. One of the things had to do with lowering thresholds for town meeting, and then Section 18 addresses the requirements of an MBTA community. So first thing I'll say is my first thought was, oh no, our pilot project, where we were trying out the commuter rail, that put us as a quote unquote MBTA community. And I'll tell you right now, that's not the case. We've been a quote unquote MBTA community for years. There's an assessment, and that's how we get our GATRA service. So that's just something many communities, towns like Rentham, Bellingham, that don't have train stations in them, they are also considered MBTA communities. So that's just some context of why we're included. There's a huge list of communities in eastern Massachusetts. So this law that is now in effect says that MBTA communities must adopt as of right multifamily zoning district of a reasonable size with a minimum density of 15 units per acre. So I'll let you kind of see that. Here's the actual law. I'm not going to read it, but it's in writing. This is not like a guideline. This is not a suggestion. This is actually suddenly required as of last year. So that's just that. So as a result of this law, the state has come out with some draft guidelines, and they're currently comments have been taken on these, but now it's under review, and we expect the final guidelines to come out in the summer. But right here's what we know about the draft guidelines. The reasonable size requirement has been interpreted to be at least 50 acres. And that's through a whole way of, they used a 0.5 radius around transit stations and determined that would be about 50 acres. So that's kind of how they came up with it. We don't know for sure that number will stick as firmly or whether there'll be grades by the community. Right now it is a blanket 50 acres across the state, across the MBTA communities. You are allowed to have sub-districts with differing densities as long as the overall district meets the minimum requirements. But you must have at least 15 units per acre. You can't have any age restrictions. It must be legally and practically allowed, which basically means it's by right. Should be in areas that have safe and convenient access to transit by bicycle and pedestrian, and must allow for at least 10% of the units as a share of total housing, which doesn't make, and I'll explain this more, but must allow at least 750 units. So our number is actually a little higher than 750. I'll get into that. Communities must estimate the unit capacity for each district, and then you have to prove that it can be attainable. The district can be established in areas that already include existing multifamily units. So that's an interesting provision. And then when an MBTA community, such as Foxborough, has no land area within a half a mile of a transit station, we are considered an adjacent community, not a community with a transit station. The multifamily district should, if feasible, be located in an area with reasonable access to a transit station based on existing street patterns, pedestrian connections, bicycle lanes, or in an area that is otherwise consistent with the Commonwealth's Sustainable Development Principles. That's fun, right? Almost done. The HCD has to make a determination of compliance for each community. So that means they have to check us out before we do this. Here's the steps. We have to do a creation of an action plan. We have to do implementation of an action plan. Then we have to adopt the zoning amendment, and then we submit requests for a determination of full compliance. If we don't want to comply, if we don't do this, the town will not be eligible for funds related to housing choice, which we got 200, I already forget the number, 235,000 from that for the Walnut Street intersection and sewer design. We wouldn't be eligible for local capital project funds or the MassWorks infrastructure program. And as you know, the MassWorks is a big one. That covered the Forbes Crossing Rotary. And we are now planning to apply for a second year for eligibility for the MassWorks for the Walnut Street signal and sewer program. So we do kind of have some skin in that game. So in the meantime, before all this can happen, in order to remain in compliance while the DHCD right now is continuing to collect comment and come out with their final guidelines, we have to submit a community information form by 5 p.m. on May 2nd. And we had to have held this briefing by May 2nd, and so that we could submit the form. So that's why I'm here discussing this with you. So what does this mean for Foxborough? As I said, we are an adjacent community because we don't have a transit station within a half a mile of this border. As I mentioned, we are required a minimum of 750 units, but because we have 7,682 units, we actually are required to have 768 units because that's 10%. And that's under the current guidelines, just so you know. So there's a chance that could change. The 15 units per acre will not change. That's in the law. But this 10% of the total housing stock, that's a guideline thing. So we'll see how that goes. As I mentioned, existing units can be included. So we did take a look at our most densely developed areas. And it was kind of surprising to see that the Lodge, which we all know is fairly dense, that has a density of about 11 units per acre. And the Sylvan, which is 14 units per acre. So neither of our most dense projects in town or even meet that 15 unit per acre density. So then that begs the question, if we were going to try to establish this 50-acre multifamily zone, where would we do it? One obvious location is out near the station, the Gillette Stadium and the train station that is there, even though it's not classified as a transit station by the MBTA right now. Or we did bandy about, whether we could come up with a district over in the Foxborough Boulevard area, because we do have the Lodge and the Sylvan, and we might be able to capitalize on those there. And that is located within 1.8 miles of Mansfield Commuter Rail Station. Since we're considered not a transit one, we're actually supposed to make sure the location is close to transit. So it's kind of not clear. So one of the questions on the form that we have to submit by May 2nd is if we want technical assistance. They are supposedly offering some technical assistance, probably competitively. So we can either do it without technical assistance or we tell them we want it. Here's the resources they're offering. There's a toolbox. They're offering personalized technical assistance to 6 communities. We could apply under One Stop for Growth, although we are applying for MassWorks under that. I don't know if double dipping would be a problem. We could try to apply it under a planning grant, or we could try to do MAPC, which I don't know about that. So right now, here's where we are. We've done our May 2nd. I've done this presentation to you by May 2nd. We have to submit the form by May 2nd. And then by July 1 of next year is the deadline for obtaining DHCD approval of our timeline and action plan. And then December 31st of 2024 is when the deadline for adopting the zoning. The key thing they always want to point out is that we're not requiring the built units to be built. You just have to adopt the zoning to allow it. And that is all I have. So I'll end that and see if we have any questions, and I'm sure we have discussion.
I'll start with you two. I've heard this a couple times.
Everybody's shocked into silence.
So,
Go ahead, Doc.
yeah, so you brought it up right at the end, an interesting comment, and that's that we don't have to necessarily build those units. We just have to zone an area that will allow for those units to be built.
Correct, but it has to be by right. So, I mean, correct. We don't have, all we have to do is zone it. So then I guess that begs the question, if you zone it, will they come?
My next question, exactly. So at that point, Paige, does that mean some developer can come in now that we've zoned an area and build to those specs? Is that how it works?
Yes. And it would be by right. We might be able to do like site plan review, you know, where the planning board could look at things like parking layout and drainage and, you know, setbacks and stuff like that, but you couldn't prohibit the density or the use. You would have to allow it. It would most likely be at least 4-story buildings. I'm totally speculating here, but based on, you know, the Sylvan being at about 14 units per acre, and those are 4-story, you know, or you might end up with higher buildings and then lower, because they did say you could have sub-districts. So you could allow like one area to be really dense and get a bunch of credit there, and then have other areas be less dense, all the while the net being 15 units per acre. But it's definitely denser, you know, it's a lot more dense, and that's been a frustrating thing for the suburbs. Bill can attest to this too. We're all sort of, you know, lamenting. It is a bit frustrating. You know, Foxborough is at 12.8%. You know, we are building 200 units of all 100% affordable senior housing. You know, this board supported the LIP over on Moore Street. So, I mean, we're doing our job. This kind of caught us all off guard, and I understand the concept behind it, but there's like zero flexibility in it for, you know, for different communities.
One more question, if I might. And every profession has its own terminology. What do you mean by right?
By right means that we can't require a special permit or prohibit it. You can't have any discretionary permits on it. So like a site plan is considered by right because we can't prohibit the use. Basically, it's an allowed use. All we can do is kind of make sure it works layout wise. Whereas a special permit is discretionary, and we can say no. No, you know what, the neighborhood character, this, that, or the other thing, we're not going to allow it. A by right means you absolutely have to allow it.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I don't know, it's disappointing when the state mandates these one-size-fits-all solutions for everybody, and it doesn't feel good, but.
And when I did the math, I think it was 175 out of 351 communities. It was like 49% of the state that fell as an adjacent or an MBTA. Is that math right? I'm going back when I looked at this a while ago, but it's literally like 49% of the state. And, you know, Paige, while it is a requirement, we could choose not to comply, and there would be ramifications for that as well.
That's right.
So that's where we have till is it July or December to make that decision if we comply or not. But we know if we don't comply, which I would imagine some cities and towns in the Commonwealth may do so, it just means you can lose out on your eligibility for certain grant funding.
Right now, there may be several of those communities that are going to choose to do that because this is a one-size-fits-all type of approach, which is not going to work in Massachusetts because we are still a home rule state, and most people think that our community should be ruled locally and determine how we should govern these types of issues. I appreciate what the state's trying to do here, but they're basically dictating to us, this is like a next generation of 40B. Yeah. Because they're telling us this is, you have to have this in addition to your 40B requirements, which makes no sense to me. And what's even more startling to me is that there is nothing in there about affordability. Nothing in the requirements about affordability, which drives me crazy because that's the major issue we're trying to wrestle with right now.
Is Paige or Bill, any communities pushing back legally?
There are a number of communities who have voiced deep concerns, including us, about this very issue to the state. And the answer is that this is a conversation I had directly with Secretary Keneally about this. He said, this isn't a law. He says, we would have to change the law, which I've subsequently had conversation with both the state senator as well as our state representative about concerns over the way this was written. It was something which I think there isn't anybody around that doesn't disagree with the concept of providing more affordable housing or affordable options for people in communities. But the way they're going about this doesn't make sense to me at all, and for a lot of people that they're taking a one-size-fits-all approach.
And one more comment, if I could, in doing the link that you gave us to Commissioner
Secretary Keneally.
Yeah, I mean, everything seemed like, when they were talking about it, everything was like wonderful and it's perfect and this is, all wine and roses and here we go and, and then you hear the other side of the coin today. It's
yeah, it's frustrating as Paige points out, and she's been on the forefront of this issue with her planning colleagues, and I've been dealing with on the town manager's colleagues, and we're all saying the same thing, that this is not something that should be done the way it's being done. I mean, I think it should be incentivized and not used as a more or less a carrot and stick approach. Right now the stick is that if you don't comply, you lose out on major grants, grant opportunities, which have been very helpful to us over the past several years. But I can tell you, based upon our read of the community, and and I think Frank will appreciate this, knowing town meeting the way we do, town meeting simply will look at this and say, there's no way this is going to happen in this town. 768 68 new housing units at 15 units per acre. We don't even have a development that mirrors that. We have one that's close, but not even one that's mirrors. And by the way, we're 12.5% affordable already. So I don't know. Why would we want to do it, given those circumstances?
Right.
So, the point here today is we have to, check the box on the meeting that's happening with the selectmen. And Paige, I assume you're all set to fill out that form with the assistance that we need or don't need. I think that you don't need us for that, but I don't think that we need to take any vote tonight. It's just, this is that first step we have to do by May 2nd. We've had the meeting, and there's more to come.
I guess I would ask though, as I mentioned, it is critically important we remain eligible for the MassWorks grant. So I guess in an effort to at least meet the spirit of this conversation, do we want to, I don't want to make this decision. I don't want, I don't know who makes this decision to even, because we couldn't even go, who decides that in the sense of, does it go to town meeting? Because it's a lot of work to bring zoning to town meeting. We wouldn't want to wait, put all this effort in if we know it's not going to work. So then I'm just wondering should there be a committee or something? And again, I'm not looking for a committee or an ad hoc group that evaluates this, just because I don't know that Bill Keegan or me or if you all feel comfortable just unilaterally deciding what we do, next year. Because we do want to remain eligible in the interim. And should anybody be looking at this in the interim, just to make sure we make an informed choice rather than a knee-jerk choice.
And just one additional thought that I have is that this is not I don't want to be totally negative about the issue, because the concept in my mind actually does make sense from a broader perspective. We need to have more units available for people.
There needs to be just flexibility, community by community.
It just needs to be more flexible. And I think, we have had some conversations with some potential prospects of developments. But that being the case, the way it's currently written, it's going to be all or nothing. And if we do it that way, that spells disaster for how it's going to be viewed from the town. So I think if there was more flexibility built into the proposal, I do think there might be some opportunity for further discussion. So that's the rate. And Paige is 100% right. This is a really important issue that it shouldn't really be made by the administration or our staff members. It's something that the town really should have to weigh in somehow, some way. It's something we can continue to discuss. But I do think it's a very important issue.
So do we have time to revisit this, maybe once we have a full board, after the election in May? And do we have that time to kind of continue that discussion, Paige, maybe in June?
I do think so. I'll send the form in, we'll check that box off, and then we have time. I think what we might want to do even more so is get through the summer, in the sense that I believe the new regulations are coming out in July, or the new guidelines, like the final guidelines. So why don't we wait till those come out? So because maybe they'll change some sort of nuances that we'll look differently at, and we can revisit it once those are out, and you have a full board. And then set our mind to sort of deciding, is this something you want to explore? Is this something you unilaterally want to just say, no, we're not going to do it? Or, or what steps need to be taken to figure that out?
Okay, yeah, so I think we'll wait to hear from you when those draft guidelines come out. That makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
When the next, they are still drafts, so there's not much to.
And maybe a by-board meeting, maybe us and you, Paige, and planning board, would that, maybe bring them in and have a discussion all together? When those new regs come out and we readdress it.
You might include CBA in that, because they're the ones that review the Chapter 40B permits.
Yep.
So I think that's
tri-board meeting.
Yeah. Or, is it even the boards? Is it town meeting? Really look at all of it.
Well, the only way you really get the timing is if there was actually a proposal to create the zoning. And I think prior to getting to that, I think you want to have a dialogue about, what that might look and what would be a reasonable option to look at. So before you present something to town meeting in that respect.
Right.
Okay. All right, great. Well, you can send in the form, I think.
Thank you, everyone. I'm checking the box.
All right.
We did it.
Thanks, Paige.
Thanks, Paige. All right, and just in time walks Bob. Right on time at 8
o'clock.
8 o'clock.
All right, so next we have our department update, which we had saved for right before the election, so you could tell us all about the election and town meeting.
Excellent. So we just had our last person come in to register 3 minutes before 8. So.
No kidding.
Nice.
Which hasn't happened, I can't tell you the last time for a town election. We've had someone actually register in person.
Right.
And we've had probably 6 to 10 today. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of interest in this election.
Yeah, little bit.
Yeah, just saying. So, yep, the election May 2nd. So today was the last day for voter registration. We're going to be testing the equipment next Wednesday, right here in this room here. So that meeting's open to the public for anybody that's interested and hasn't seen that. They're welcome to come in.
that room.
Oh, it's right. You're right, because you have department heads. So it's in the other conference room, right? I forgot about that. Thank you.
So nice.
And then town meeting is set for the 9th. So, we've been busy this spring, all the way through nomination period. And there is only the one contested race, but it's been a lot of interest in that already.
It's got national press.
No, it's got national press. I get calls from the Providence Station, from the Boston Globe, and I told them I'm not anybody's campaign manager, so you have to call them directly. I don't go on Facebook or any of that stuff, but I understand it's been interesting on the Foxborough discussion group, so.
And we've got 2 open seats, right, where no one, Board of Health and
Board of
Library
Health and one of the school, and not school, but the library trustees, yeah. So, in those cases, if there's a write-in candidate that gets the most votes and is interested, then they become the actual person in that position. So, which has happened quite a bit over the last few years with the Board of Health. That's happened a couple of times. With the library, that's happened last year. So, I'm expecting a really good turnout. We've already had quite a bit of interest in absentee voting, which we typically don't get a lot for town meeting, but we've already had a lot of interest with that. So I'm curious to see what happens, but we'll be ready to take everybody in for voting, and we'll swear anybody in that night that's interested in getting sworn in the night of the election. I understand there's a school committee meeting the next day, so they're curious to get those people sworn in, and then we'll dive right into the town meeting, which I think the major issue there probably is the marijuana article.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the citizens petitions.
Yeah.
Seems to be some interest in some of those.
Yeah, there'd be some interest there, but I think that probably, where is that on the?
So at the end, the end of it's one of the
20,
last.
yeah, something.
Yeah, it's one of the 20s. 21,
Yeah,
22.
so that'll be good. That'll hopefully keep people's interest and keep people there.
Yeah, and it is a zoning article, so it does need 2/3.
Right.
On that one, too, so.
Well, it's a combo. It's a general bylaw and a
Right.
zoning bylaw. Right.
But it does need the zoning.
The
vote,
zoning
right?
does need
Yeah.
two-thirds vote, so. Other than that, I think that's the only zoning article for the.
Yeah, the other three that were concerns have dropped off because they did meet the requirements, so thank you for doing that. That was a good effort to get that figured out, and I know you worked really well with the Attorney General's office to get that figured out, so
Yeah,
thank
they
you for
turned it
doing that.
around really quickly.
They did.
I think they had already had it set, and
Yeah.
as soon as we published the article and we hadn't gotten any comments on it in the 21-day period, they turned it right around that day. It
was great.
So.
And I did check for the marijuana when I actually saw it in the paper to make sure it was printed, so.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the first time that's happened
Yeah, right?
since I've been here. So, I mean, and those things happen on occasion, but.
What are the voting hours? Remind us again. Is it 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.?
7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay. All right, great.
Yep, and the warrant is to be signed tonight, and then that'll get posted by the constable tomorrow. So we'll be ready to go for that.
We've had a pretty robust warrant review process this year, so
Yep.
everybody's weighed in. Thank you, Frank, for doing that. I know you had some last-minute changes, and
Yeah.
but actually, it was a really good process. Thanks to Katie for working on that and coordinating that.
She's done a good job at
Done a really
trying
good
to
job.
tie it all together.
She really
so
has.
It's been helpful.
Really good.
And, every once in a while you'll catch a little typo or whatever, and it's good to get it as clean as you can get it. Once we get through both of these cycles, then we start right into voting. September 6th is the primary, state primary, and then November 8th, I think it's a late November election this year. The governor's race will be on there, and Paul Feeney's race is on there, and Jay Barrow's race is on there. So there'll be a lot of interest for that, and I'm sure there'll be some ballot questions too. So it'll be an interesting fall because we're expecting that a lot of the 2020 pandemic issues with by mail voting and those kind of things will be reinstituted. They haven't passed that legislation yet, but the versions that I've seen, I'm anticipating on all the things we did for by mail voting will be reinstituted. So we're going to be busy from, as soon as we get done with the town meeting, we'll jump right into all of the voting issues again. So it's going to be a very busy 2022 in my office.
Yeah, it sure will be.
Yeah.
Busy month coming up, too.
Bob, do you want to talk about the warrants being distributed around town with having some extras ordered?
Yeah, so I guess you had some interest in having them delivered early to Council on Aging and the
Yeah, because I
library.
joked that they're right now in the locked vestibule at the Adjourn. So it's a little tough to get in there unless you're picking up a middle school kid.
Right. Right, so we had a discussion about that today. My only concern with that is, you're trying to gauge how many warrants to print. And if you distribute them early, you know what's going to happen. They're going to forget to bring them. And then so you're going to need another copy at the town meeting. So I don't think it's a bad idea. I just think we're just trying to gauge how many
I
to
think we
print,
should
so.
also have like a QR code at the door where it can load up a Word document. Like, I know some people probably don't want a printed out copy.
No, I would.
I mean, Doc might not, but other people might not grab a printed copy and might just scan the QR code or
We
something.
did that for
So.
special town meeting, right? And I think that worked well.
I mean, that's not stuff that I do.
That's next generation stuff. So
Yeah, that's, but.
The QR code worked well with the survey.
Yeah, and kind of like menus when we all during COVID went to restaurants and you
Yeah.
know, it's the same exact technology that just, it pops it right up for you. You don't have to go searching for it.
I still had the waitress bring me a menu. Said, please.
Well, now at least most people are good at it from the menus and the QR
Right.
codes from dining, so.
Even an old timer like me can figure it out.
You've got it down.
Yeah. And then I think one of the other things with the town meeting is hopefully the monies for the CIP will be approved and I'll be able to finally get some new voting
We're
equipment.
waiting patiently for those.
Yeah, so, but, I haven't looked at the machines since I started the process like 5 years ago. So what I'm gonna do is have a situation where I'm gonna have a little team. We're gonna have both versions come in, the LHS machine and the ESNS machine. Have them show us the equipment again, have my team vote, and then we have to, your board will have to vote to approve the new equipment, and that has to be done 120 days before the next election, so we won't get in before September.
Okay.
And even at getting in for November election would be very tight, because especially I want to make sure with the supply chain issues that the machines are actually here before you vote that. So I think the first time those would be used would be the next town election in May, unless next May, unless there was a special election that came up. So
Definitely not.
looking forward to that, but they're definitely a lot more user-friendly for the voter and for the election worker. So the days of the folding ballots causing problems hopefully will be by the wayside. So, because that's our biggest challenge when we get to the bigger elections like the presidential. A lot of the by-mail voting and absentee voting are folded ballots. They cause significant jams in the machine, and it's a time waste, but also concern that the ballot actually gets counted properly. So we're looking forward to that.
Hopefully this is the last town one then with the folding problems. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that's it on my end, unless you guys have any questions or.
I don't think so.
No.
There's a lot coming up.
Yeah.
So we'll see you. We'll see you often.
Busy. All right.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You
as
too.
well.
Thanks. All right. So now we're going on to the warrant. So we have to sign and take positions on the warrant. And I know this has come up, I think everyone's heard us talk about this, you know, do the Board of Selectmen take positions? Do we not need to take positions? I know Stephanie felt pretty strong that she did want us to take positions. However, she's away, she's not here. And we are down one member on the board. And I think Seth mentioned last night that, last meeting, that, you know, he can take his position on town meeting floor. So that really just leaves you and I, Doc. You know, so do we want to take positions on the articles, or do we?
I don't think we have to.
So, okay, so I think, you know, we can discuss it in the fall, but I just don't think that it makes sense given, you know, how we're down a member, someone's away, you know, just where we are, it doesn't make sense. So we're going to finalize and sign the annual town meeting warrant. Of course, we can have any discussion that we want to on any and all articles on here, but I don't think any of these articles on here are a surprise. We've talked about them a number of times. You know, I think by right, we're supporting the articles, you know, that are here sponsored by us, and the others are responsibility of other boards, committees, citizens petitions and such. So with that, I'll open the discussion. Anything?
No.
Yeah, so one thing, as we know in the room, I've been completely silent on all library items, as well as any contractual union contract discussions, which felt like the appropriate thing to do, and it's hindered my ability to do this job on this board to a certain extent, because I would like to do the work towards putting together and producing the articles for the warrant to be viewed at town meeting. And so, you know, I've struggled with that, but I've accepted that as sort of the way it should be. And so to make it clear, my wife works at the Board and Library, so we just to put that out there. So in talking with the State Ethics Commission and talking with Town Council, Labor Council, we had a conversation. At first it was around the union contract, but then we pivoted a little bit to other items that I may be able to contribute to in a meaningful way. And one of the ways to make sure that it was sort of an appropriate approach was to file what's known as a 23B3, appearance of undue favor or improper influence disclosure. And in effect, I filled out the form and filed it with the town clerk, with Bob. And it basically says that I feel like I can do the work of the selectmen, in that I would not be causing any undue favoritism or bringing in improper influence to my family or my wife. If I took sort of a general, sort of broad position on the, so this, what I'm speaking to is the town budget that currently we voted on and approved for the warrant. And so I just wanted to have my position on the record, speak to it tonight, and then, and I expect that it'll, town meeting, the voters can decide. But in terms of the budget, I agree with Stephanie in terms of the directive for 0 net add headcount. So I'm in favor of that. In terms of the reorg with Mark and others as department heads, I'm comfortable with that. I think that's efficient and a good thing. So as far as the no net adds, that was the directive. And then, a lot of the reasoning for that was because we're coming out of a global pandemic that is going to have, longer reaching impact on the budget than just that year. So there's that. And then a little bit more specifically around any particular ads, what I would expect in my gauge for, as on this board, of what's an appropriate request, notwithstanding our directive not to add people, is that there's a demonstrated need or desire from the community to add a person to provide a certain amount of resources. And then secondly, once that need has been demonstrated, that if there's still a request for incremental headcount, that there's a plan for that role. And so when I'm talking about, what I'm referring to is the young adult librarian, okay? And so demonstrated need would be people in the community outside of the trustees and outside of a former director who are looking to have this need filled in the community. And then as far as a plan, at the YMCA, there's a leader there named Melissa Botine, who's the teen director, who is energized around providing, the right services and those types of, that type of stuff for younger adults and teens. Working with Mark Craig, Human Services, to try to, so rather than putting someone in a room and expecting that to drive demand, it's really have a plan. And so in lieu of those things, or without those things, I would have a hard time of being in favor of adding incremental headcount. So just wanted to have that said, put it on the record, and let the town decide at this point.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Great. Any other comments on any of the other warrant articles?
And knowing that Bob and Frank are both here, any questions about I assume for the billboard articles, right? We good? Okay.
Going easy on you tonight. I got nothing finally. I think we've talked about all of these a lot.
Yeah, between here and planning and AdCom and zoning. Yeah.
And I will mention that the public hearing for the marijuana article, I believe, is the 14th. So that is in 2 days. I know I will tune in. You can watch it. Anyone in the public, since it is a zoning article, it is an open meeting here in this room. So that public hearing is happening on the 14th. I just wanted to mention that as well.
And they're just specifically the marijuana article is 21 and the billboard article is number 22. So you guys are pulling up the rear. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, you guys, are they dead last?
They're dead last.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, good thing Frank has to be there all night anyway.
Right?
Right.
All right. So with that, I think that we are ready to have a motion to approve and sign the final 22 annual town meeting warrant.
Like you just said, motion to approve and sign the finalized 2022 annual town meeting warrant.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. So I'm going to skip the next one on taking positions because it just doesn't make sense with just two of us, but I think I've broadly mentioned my position on everything on there. All right, so next we're going to the assistant town manager's update.
Great. I'm just going to share my screen.
Is it like freezing?
Oh, yeah, by the way.
Yeah, I'll
Assistant
turn
Town
it, yeah,
Manager,
there's
it's cold. And I'm never cold.
I'm never cold, yeah.
Yeah. I think he put it down to 32. Keep us awake.
Right?
So,
Put the heat on.
it worked, didn't it?
Yeah.
So I'll give you a quick update on, before I get into this slide deck of 7 slides, just give you a quick update on positions. So we have a couple of new positions advertised. One is a part-time collections coordinator position over in the finance department. We did consolidate 2 positions over there, and that was the payroll administration and the benefits administration. We have 1 person with both of those talents, and we've found a way to make that work. And so now we've opened up. We had a person leave, is what happened. Our payroll administrator, and then and that person was also doing collections. So that's one of the positions advertised. We've also got a position advertised for the working supervisor over at Tree and Park. The former working supervisor, Jimmy Caffin, was promoted up to be the Tree and Park supervisor. And then we've got a number of summer jobs out there in a library page position that are advertised. We have had some, we continue to hire what we need as far as lifeguards and that staff. Union contracts is what I want to talk about. We did just ratify the last of the 6 contracts. All the unions have ratified. The Board of Selectmen have ratified all these contracts. So I just want to give you a high level of where we started, where we are now, and take any questions that the board might have as we go through. Yes?
Is that?
Yeah, this morning you've in executive session, you ratified.
Actually, in open session.
I mean, in open session.
Yeah, open session.
You did ratify Steelworkers A and B.
This is just a summary.
Yeah, okay.
In library, and then the first one, previously you'd done fire, and then last week you did police and
DPW.
And DPW. And all those unions have ratified. Okay, so for a strategy going into this, we met the top financial and administrative folks in town met last August, and then we started negotiating in the first week of November. We were focused on workforce development. How do we contain cost coming out of COVID, and any cost that we do run into, how do we move them later in the contract or into later years so that the impact is lower, because we know that we carry all costs forward. So with that, our going in strategy was let's have the COLA be only 1.5% in the first year, and that was a heavy lift because, as we know, costs are going up. Folks are looking for more of a cost of living increase, and we had the ability to offer less. We're working to keep up with market competition so that we can retain employees, as well as continue to attract top-level talent to meet our needs. All 6 contracts that have been agreed to are 3-year contracts. So the first one is the steelworkers, and for both units A and B, we negotiated a computer use policy, and that's the one that the board signed back in December 22nd of 2021, and that's something that we have to impact bargain with each of the units, so it's done with these 2 units. We also negotiated not only the use of new cloud-based, mobile-friendly platform, but also we're going to retool the evaluations. So I'm going to work with the union presidents on that to make sure that we have something to appropriately evaluate our folks, to continue growth. There were some parity items that we worked on. One was longevity, another one was weekend duty, so we made some adjustments to make sure that across bargaining units that we were treating them equal. Or as equally as we could. In Unit A, as was just mentioned by Seth, we did have 2 positions that are being elevated to oversee other departments. namely Recreation Department and Veterans Department. They're going to become divisions under the Human Services. They all work collaboratively. It makes sense. So that position for the Human Services Director will be moved into a new grade 10. And then also the planner will now be the land use, the Director of Land Use and Economic Development, and she will oversee the Building Inspections Division and the Conservation Division. And then for Unit B, we have one new eligibility for a stipend, and there's no cost increase here. It's just providing some flexibility so that not only can we have LICSWs and LISWs, you know, as far as our social workers, but also an LSW, still limited to 2 stipends. The comps that we evaluated for the steelworker contracts, and this is across all A and B, we came in at between the 47th and 55th percentile. On the whole, we did have 2 outliers. One was down at the 44th percentile. One other was up at the 58th percentile. But the bulk of our positions are in the low 50s. We are concerned when we get down to 50% and below, so we keep our eye on that and see what we need to do. With library, we address sick leave buyback as we have with many of the other units, and we have actually, starting in July 1st of 2022, we will no longer be offering that sick leave buyback to new employees. But the current employees are grandfathered. If that applies to them, they will continue to have that. One of the things that was important to the library union was to have stipends for those who have college degrees. Initially they were looking for something to cover all degrees, but we settled where the job is not where a degree is not required for a degree. That's where, or for the position rather, that's where we settled. So there's a $250 annual stipend for an associate's degree that's not required for the position, but does add value to the organization. Similarly, a $500 stipend for a bachelor's degree. Sunday hours are filled on a rotating basis, a little bit differently than many of the other departments, and also the night shifts are also covered on a rotating basis. Sunday hours have in the past been compensated at 1.5 times the regular hour. Normally Sunday hours are a double time rate, and as we've moved, we don't have to do that. We did agree to doing that. And the night differential, similar to some other towns, but not as high as some. We have added a $2 per hour night differential to the small number of employees for the limited evenings that the library is open. It was important to the library to first get a look at open positions. They would like to see it for 10 days before we post it outside, so we did agree to that. The comps for this union range from the 52nd to the 62nd percentile. So we're in good shape, but obviously we're going to keep an eye on that to make sure we don't start dropping into the low 50s or below 50th percentile. Moving into the fire, police, and DPW contracts, and those are the ones that you had seen prior to today, and ratified. Those all, just like all the other, in fact, all 6 contracts were 1.5% in the first fiscal year, 2% and 2% for the last 2 years of the contract, all 3-year agreements. And we negotiated a seniority step into each of these unions, which I'll get into a little bit. We focused on training and education as important components, and there is some compensation that comes along with some of that. And we talked about details and overtime. For fire, there's an education incentive. They already get this, and we've increased it by a small amount, 2% for an associate's degree, 3% for a bachelor's degree, and 4% for a master's degree. And then folks who don't have a degree but had previously been getting credit towards getting a degree. Future hires will not get that. We've eliminated that. There is a 15-year senior step. This one is a 1.5% step. The details that we negotiated, we were way behind our surrounding comps. You know, we were down at around $50, while our surroundings have been in the mid-60s. So we've brought that up. This not only affects our construction details around town and other events that go on for Foxboro firefighters, but also the detail officers that we bring in. That's significant because with all the events we have going on and construction projects going on, we struggle sometimes to fill these details, and we have to force people to actually fill these details. So to maintain that, we want to be paying competitive rates, not more than, not less than. We negotiated in a physical fitness test for the firefighters, and while we know our firefighters doing very well, as was demonstrated over on Central Street with the recent fire before Christmas, we saw our firefighters outperforming many of the mutual aid departments that came. And this is not a slam on any other department, but our folks were still climbing ladders when others were taking rest breaks. We just have a superior force, and they came to us wanting to do this. There is a small stipend that comes along with this, and it's $100 a year. But the main driver is making sure that our firefighters continue to be physically fit for the task, and not just pumping iron, but actually doing things that are job related. You know, being able to climb ladders, you know, drag hose, do CPR, those sort of things with endurance. The chief was looking for 6 months' notice to retire, and we did get that. And the comps here came in between the 49th and 56th percentile. Again, we get concerned when we get down to 50%. We're keeping an eye on that. Police union, we negotiated a 20-year senior step for sergeants and patrolmen. That's a 2% step for someone who is in the department and at their maximum step. All these senior steps have to be at maximum step and have to be at the years as called out, either 15 or 20 in this case. Similar to fire, we did bring the detail rates up to market rates so that we can again fill those shifts. One of the things that was important, sometimes it's tough to fill a sergeant's shift, and we want to have trained, experienced people that are supervising these shifts. If we don't have a sergeant that's available to do an overtime shift, what's been happening sometimes is that we have a patrol officer filling an OIC, or an officer in charge shift, getting paid for that shift without the training or experience to do so. So what was negotiated here is that lieutenants who are actually not in this bargaining unit are able to fill these shifts. And I want to be clear, this isn't something our lieutenants were looking to do. They're not looking for extra weekend and night shifts, but it's something that the chief was looking for because he wants trained, experienced people in a supervisory role, especially when we have, you know, hazardous things going on. Our night differential was getting behind the comps, and so there was no change made in the first year, but in the second year we raised it 0.5%, and again in the third. We used to have a 15-mile residency requirement, so people had to live within 15 miles of the town to be police officers here. We expanded that out to 30 miles because we couldn't attract enough officers within the civil service program. Now that we're out of civil service, we were comfortable bringing it back into 15 miles so we can stay a little more local. The comps here for the police were evaluated between the 49th and 52nd percentile. And this is the last unit, number 6. There were some minor adjustments made to the weekend duty coverage pay. Similarly, we negotiated a 15-year senior step to try to keep with the market. And then there were a number of training areas. One is welding, where we're upping our certification from get certified, which was undefined in the contract, to now they have to get certified through the American Society of Welders. They weld a couple of pieces of steel together under supervision and mail it off and see what's the tensile and compressive strength of that object that they manufactured. A certification you see sometimes when you go to get your car serviced. I couldn't tell you what that stands for, but it's an automotive certification. There are 10 different levels of it. The mechanics were hoping to get a stipend for that. We actually thought we would pilot that program. We'd support them with the materials and tuition, but not pay a stipend for it. The pesticide license, we've opened that up to more people so that we can actually cover the work that we're already doing. And asbestos, right now we have 5 certified people, but it's certification is very, again, loosely defined. What we wanted was to cover all the people that might be working on our cement asbestos pipes, whether it's a line break or replacement of lines. So we're actually sending them to an 8-hour OSHA course, and then we're requiring them to get state asbestos licensure, and the town will pay the $75 once they fill out the paperwork. And we think that all of those things help to cover our liability and provide a better trained workforce. Heavy equipment operators is one thing that we're looking to change. So folks that come in and drive for us generally come in as a laborer driver, and they need to have a CDL A license. We're looking to move up to heavy equipment operator. They've got to have a CDL. CDL B for the higher license, CDL A for somebody first coming in. And then, and for heavy equipment operator, they need to have a hoisting license as well. So we're looking to elevate people up in that way. Minor adjustment for tools, and then we're moving towards getting people up to a minimum of 3 weeks. That's where we'd like to start people, and our folks who have, at least in this union, and within the steel workers, those are the folks that we're interested in negotiating that and giving something up to get that. And here, lastly, the comps for this union were between the 49th and 54th percentile, so we're kind of on that edge of getting towards the lower edge. That's something we're going to keep an eye on and evaluate as we move into the next 3-year contract, so starting 2 years from now. Do you have any questions for me?
Been through it. Pretty comprehensive. So, just want to state for the record that Mike and I know has worked tirelessly for the past 6 months on this process, along with George and Marie and Labor Council and all the department heads who've been involved in these negotiations and done a really fantastic job. I mean, it's really important to note that nobody can ever remember that when this has ever happened, where we've had all 6 contracts, and even the school contracts aligned to be in effect, so that when they'll be ready to be starting on July 1st before the other one expires. So that's extraordinary, and I think we're heading into I know there's a lot of changes coming up in the next year, but to have that for a new library director, a new town manager, a new school business manager, to have all those positions where you have labor peace for the next 3 years is really, really helpful, so they can hit the ground running and actually do the job that really, give them an opportunity to really do the job and focus on a lot of areas and not have to be bogged down in this process. So I give credit to Mike and his team and all the folks who are involved in this. They did a terrific job. So thank you.
Agreed. And now this goes to AdCom and made it in time for town meeting, just in the...
So tomorrow night we'll present 6 of these contracts to AdCom, unless they'd rather hear 3 and then 3 the following week, but we'll be there tomorrow night, along with George, Marie, Bill, and I.
All right. So just a couple things I wanted to let you know that Mike and I attended the ICMA, that's the International City Managers Meeting, the regional meeting that was held in Boston over the past 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of last week at the Colonnade Hotel. We spent 3 days learning from a number of really terrific speakers. Topics that we heard from were skills for overcoming divisions to solve community problems, organizational change in policing, One Step from the Door, which was actually taught by Jamie Kenny and John Clifford, our labor councils, which was very, very good and really well attended. Bumpy Road Ahead, adapting to the new workplace, higher and higher, building the pipeline of future leaders, roundtable discussions for ARPA, racial equity, and social justice were held as well. There was also a session on first-time administrators, and on Friday, there was a session on what do we expect from ICMA as an organization heading into the next several years, because this is a time when, and this was actually something we talked about earlier today. We're actually, the number one topic for discussion during the meetings today, those 3 days, was how are we going to replace the next workforce, because there's simply aren't enough people filling these positions. The talent pool is very, very limited at this point in time, and so we're going to struggle as communities, I think, going forward without a plan in place to try and do that. So Foxborough has undertaken a strategic approach to doing that and trying to develop from within on many different levels. Just people that we think have a talent to actually try and train them and get them ready to take over positions as time goes forward. But it always affords us the opportunity to look, outward and in as well. So, but I do think that right now that's a challenge that virtually everybody in the room was talking about. Tackling, I went to a session on tackling wicked problems, which was fascinating. It was one of the better sessions I ever heard. It was taught by a Colorado State University professor who does this talk all around the country, and he said, and what he talked about was a lot like the training that Mike and I attended with the Georgie Bishop program, where they talked about how we gather people together in small groups and try and solve problems together. And he talked about that a lot, and it was actually very, very fascinating.
He was actually a fascinating presenter.
He was terrific. He was really, really good. That ended the whole session with that conversation. So I did take a lot of his information. I'm going to follow up with him on some of the approaches that he uses. The other thing I wanted to mention too is that SEMRC is looking to expand its number of communities, and it's going to be happening over the next few months. My understanding is that Norwood has already expressed its level of interest in joining SEMRC, as well as the city of Taunton is working in that direction as well, though that has not been finalized as of yet. The SEMRC Board of Directors is working on updating its guidelines for expanding that role, and we'll be having conversations with the leaders of all the four, the boards of selectmen of all four communities, probably within the next 30 to 60 days to try and firm up those changes. But I do think that the time has come where we're starting to see a real interest in expanding SEMRC. We're also seeing a number of new ones pop up around us. I don't think anybody is nearly as sophisticated as SEMRC is, but I will tell you that there is competition for getting communities involved, and the more communities that we can have, the more we can keep the cost of the operation down by spreading out the value across several communities. So I think we're coming to that point as well. Another conversation, and Doc, maybe you want to follow up on this with the conversation we had today with the community center discussion with the ad hoc group, and we're moving towards addressing a few items, and I'll let you speak further if you'd like.
Thanks, Phil. I was going to bring it up on the Selectmen update, but we'll bring it up now. Sure. There's a little ad hoc committee for the senior center / community center. We've been meeting about once a month just to get a good feel of what we need to do, going forward. And we've had Bill come in, Mike's come in a couple of times. We got to the next stage where we had Bill Yukna come in today, as a matter of fact, talk about what the process was in bringing it in front of his committee, the building committee. And sometime next month, we'll come in front of this board for a proposal.
Yeah, start talking
so
about
it's sort of
next steps.
Talking about that next step.
Right.
And again, we're going to wait for a full board, after town election.
And wait till after the election and town meeting until we have the conversation. So we need to start planning now. If there's a window that's opening up in the next 2 years, and I think if we do the due diligence now and the planning, we might be able to make it work financially for the town as well.
So we'll let you know, sometimes after election, to come on in front.
As luck would have it, when I was at this meeting last week, I ran into a long-lost friend who I hadn't seen in 28 years, a fellow by the name of Stanley Hawthorne, who's now the town manager of Bloomfield, Connecticut, who moved from Florida to, from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I asked him why he did that. I said because he lived in actually a beautiful area. And he said because he needed to expand, you know, his knowledge base and wanted to go into the Northeast. And he said the politics in Florida are pretty difficult these days too. So he came up, but he's a great guy. And he told me that they just built a new community center in Bloomfield. And he said you really should see it because it was a really great project. And it might be something that we can do a field trip someday to go take a look at. Okay. I meant to mention that earlier today. I forgot it because I had to rush out, unfortunately. That's all I have.
All right, great. So Selectmen's update. Christina and I were just talking about kicking off that appointment. I really want to try to stick to the, you know, getting everyone done by June, and I think we got to get everything sent out in order for boards and committees to kind of have their own meetings and make sure there's no turnover, advertise new positions if they're going to be filled. So kicking off that process now that, and there's still a lot of work for town meeting and everything, but that will be coming in May. So keep an eye out for that. And then anything, did you have anything else? Did you have anything else? I know you already mentioned that.
Just one update. I know Christina has been working feverishly to get the town report done, and she did finish it.
Oh,
so
great.
it is in the hands of the printer at this point.
Okay.
So we're on schedule, and we should have that. And in all the midst of that, it was her birthday this week, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday. We didn't know.
I held off in saying that until tonight. So
told us earlier.
Happy birthday, yeah. Okay.
All right, great. So I think we just have one action item tonight, which might be a record low.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the March 3rd, 2022 Board of Selectmen meeting minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Come in on that.